Hey guys, we're back in our Space Command Center here, ready to talk about TI once again. Have a really good episode for you guys coming up. Our main topic is going to be support for the throne, yes or no? And then we're also going to get into the upcoming alleged codex that is coming out shortly.
Yeah.
And we're just going to share our thoughts on some of the rumors about it.
Especially because everybody got trolled. I don't know. Maybe you didn't get trolled. I got a little bit trolled.
I don't get trolled.
Space Cast Peace Turtles, April Fools. They talk about some upcoming changes. It sounds pretty legit. They make a whole episode about it. And then, of course, they share some of the details, and it all sounds bonkers. But I really think that we are getting a Codex 3, Chris. I might just be eating those words next week, but I'm excited, and I think we're gonna talk a little bit about what the changes that look to be coming are and how we feel about them. But first, I am excited to talk about the support for the throne topic because we've been playing a lot of TI, and lately we've really just not been playing with supports at all, have we?
No, I'm very anti-support for the throne. I'm usually the one who recommends getting rid of them from all of our games, and I've never missed them, and I've had much better games without them. So I am a big proponent of just taking them, chucking them, and never looking back.
Whereas I feel like they do have a place.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that it can be problematic or make for a less interesting game. Let's put it that way. When people swap supports, right? The common practice of, hey, I give you a support, you give me a support, we both got a point, and then everybody around the table does the same thing, and before you know it, you essentially have unbreakable alliances because you don't want to break that alliance and lose that point. So I want to talk about that, Chris, but Chris actually kind of convinced me about why they should just not be in the game entirely, or at least house rule them out. So Chris, go for it.
No, I'm not here to advocate. Again, I did say to Mo I have basically stated emphatically that I am a very big proponent of playing games as they're printed. I'm not somebody who likes to do a lot of house rules or really mess with the mechanics. I don't even like banning, I don't even like banning anybody. My
including the Titans.
I hate the Titans. No, I don't. Okay. I take that back. They annoy me. This production on PDS is super annoying.
I recall you being very frustrated when you found that out.
Yes. So they even the Titans, even the SAR. I do like to play the game as it's made, and I'll take all the flaws for all of the good parts of it. So I don't really like to tinker with things. That being said, supports is one thing that I really am in favor of removing from the game. Yeah. Again, I think it's okay to play with them, and if you want to play with supports, I really do understand the function of them and the benefits of having them in the game. But personally, I really think they take away some of the antagonism and some of the tension that develops. And it might be our group, but mostly I found we got into a habit or we got into a rut with supports of everybody. Round 2 would just trade supports, and you would look to your neighbor and you would say support swap, and then they would say support swap, and then once one person did a support swap, everybody did. Doesn't work in a 5-player game at all. Well, I mean, there are probably ways to do it, but at the end of the day,
somebody ends up being
at the end of the day, the 5-player it kind of doesn't benefit that 5th player, 6th player.
Although we, because we did it with a 5-player, I think, and what they ended up doing is they just did a 3-way support swap. So my whole rule is you can't, and this is why I'm starting to lean in towards what Chris is saying, even though I had the opinion that hey, they have a place in the game. I said, well, don't swap supports 1-to-1, right? That's not allowed. I can't just be like, give me mine, give me yours, we each have a victory point, yay. I said, you can give supports to someone who doesn't give you their support. Well, guess what happened? They just did a three-way silver swap. They said, "Oh, I'm going to give you yours. You give him his, and you give you." And so I'm like, "Well, that defeats the whole purpose." And the other thing about it is that and again, I'm somebody who thinks that they should stay, but then I look at it and I go, I've used supports to essentially, if I have a neighbor that I know is going to be problematic, if I swap supports with them, I just don't have to worry about them for the rest of the game. And there is something to that, in that it sort of it creates a somewhat permanent alliance, more than the alliance card, because nobody wants to lose that victory point, really. Especially as you get into rounds 3 and 4, and you've got your setup for the win. Losing that victory point is devastating. So it essentially builds a permanent alliance, and when everybody does that, it does take away from the dynamic aspect of the game.
That's my problem with it. Again, I was saying one of my favorite or least favorite parts of Risk when I played in college was Kamachka, and it was always that to take over Europe, you had to make sure you had an alliance with North America, and that was where Kamachka was. And it was all well and good, but at some point, always in those games, always, without a doubt, North America would get a little big for its britches, and they would go into Kamachka and completely devastate Europe. And that tension in the game was really what made it memorable, was those acts of aggression, or those kind of backstabby things that I feel like really add to the game of TI. And I feel like with the support swaps, it kind of codifies things where you tend to lose those entanglements,
those dramatic moments.
Yes.
Where it's like, so yeah, Chris, you're absolutely right, and I do recall, games of Risk where that was absolutely fun. I mean, it was dramatic and it was like crazy, but it was a lot of fun. And so I was going to also mention diplomacy. I don't know if you've ever played diplomacy.
No.
Well, diplomacy is even crazier, because the whole point of diplomacy is at any point you can turn on anybody and have other people help you. But same concept. That's what made a lot of those games fun. Is you really had to be careful, and support for the throne. Kind of that victory point is too crucial. To take away, to turn it down. To take it away. So it takes that away. It takes that fun away.
And I will say, and now I'm going to argue against myself, because the bookend to it, and I'm not advocating it, but I do see the other side of it, because the last game we played a week ago Friday, we did actually have supports in the game, mostly because we couldn't get an agreement together of whether to scrap them, and one of the players came up with these. Well, basically said you can use supports, but you can't do support swaps.
Like I said,
and kind of did more home ruling about it. So we did have supports, and there were one or two instances where there were some fun plays with the support swap. Like, I ended up giving my support to my neighbor Yin because I didn't want them attacking me. And they had very low points in the game, so it had no bearing on the game. And I think I got a relic fragment out of it, which I was like, okay, it didn't alter the game, the point system too much. But for me, it was nice because it basically created a wall to my flank, that they couldn't come over and take all my infantry.
And that's the main counter argument. That's actually been my major counter argument, is that sometimes, it's a tool. I don't like to think of it as everybody gets a victory point. It's a tool of negotiation, right? If somebody is looking at your system or at your flagship or Warsun, and they just want a victory point, and you're caught with your pants down, it's nice to be able to say, well, look, I'll give you a victory point. I'll support your bid for the throne if you just leave my game alone. If you leave my home system alone, or leave my Warsun alone. And so that does actually offer a benefit, in that it becomes a negotiation tactic. It says, I'm just going to give you the support. You're going to get a point. You were going to get a point by taking my home system or whatever, but I'm going to give you that point, so you don't have to do that, right? And then it opens up that negotiation aspect of the game again, and I think that is great, right? I don't want to be. Ideally, if I can stop somebody from destroying a flagship or a war sun to stop my attack somewhere else, or to take my home system, and I can give them that ability to have that point, and they go, you know what, that worked for me. I like that. And when you take them out entirely, you just lose that. That just becomes something you just can't do anymore. So that's kind of why I think there is a reason why they should be kept in, but this is why it's kind of a big thing.
I mean, my counterpoint to that is I feel like there's other things in TI that you can offer people, like trade goods or alliances or other stuff like that.
How is that going to help you get a victory point?
It's not, but
That's
you
the
can.
thing.
But I feel, but that's also the other thing is that I think taking victory points off the table forces you to be a little more creative, where you can shake down people, and that's why you have trade goods. Is I think trade goods should be the universal commodity, not victory points. Maybe in a sense that you can give people money and say don't attack my system, or you can give them other stuff, and victory points just seem a lot more concrete.
Yeah.
In the sense of, I think taking them out of the equation means you got to work harder for some of the victory points as well. And I know somebody here is saying that taking support for the thrones out lengthens the game one turn. I don't care.
Yeah.
I tend to. I mean,
that's fine.
That's fine. We go one more round, and I have another beer,
and we get to do more stuff.
We get to play more TI.
Yeah. No.
So that's not really a counterpoint. If you want a shorter game, play till 9 points.
Right. Right. Agreed.
So I don't buy that argument. That's usually what everybody says is you don't get to round 5 with, or you get past it, but
I really think, Chris, that there is a happy medium, and the happy medium is the way you played that last game, where it wasn't there's no swapping, so to speak. And then when we talk about two-way swaps, I don't care about whether it's a two-way swap, a three-way swap, whatever. Just no swapping. It should be something that you offer it just like you would offer a ceasefire or whatever. But it shouldn't be like a hey, 1-for-1, we both get points kind of deal. Right. And same thing, it shouldn't be like where that one game where Jonathan just suggested we do a three-way. I'm like, dude, that defeats the purpose. So
the only counter argument, and I'm if you go to play with supports, I mean, what am I going to do? Come over to your game? No. I just feel like then somebody has to be the rules police. With that stuff, and I'd rather not have it in the game and just not worry about it. Hey, you can still do ceasefires. You can still do other stuff. I guess maybe it's out of laziness that I just don't want to be the rules police and say, well, you guys are doing a three-way swap, or you're doing. I think you can get creative with accomplishing a two-way swap, and that's kind of why I'm like, let's just play with it. Like I said, I think all the games I played with without support for the throne
have been fine.
Never missed it.
They were great.
Never missed it.
You're right.
And that's what I realized is there was never a situation where I was like, well, if I just had a support for the throne, I would have won the game. But again, I think it forces you to say, no, I gotta concentrate on points. I gotta get my ships to the edge of the galaxy. I gotta capture, 9 cultural planets or whatever the fuck.
I agree with you, Chris. This is one of those situations where I went into it going, I really think they should be there, but you should house rule something in there. But then Chris convinced me, honestly, taking them out makes for more interesting games. And I think that, yes, you can absolutely do some fun stuff with supports that's not necessarily swapping, as I mentioned. But I think that there's nothing wrong with house ruling them out if you want to have that kind of game. That being said, it's like Chris said, ultimately it's up to you, which is why we're actually curious what you guys think. So, please feel free to leave comments below about how you feel about support for the throne. Pros and cons. If we missed any pros and cons of support for the throne or any comments, we want to hear your feedback. We're actually we're curious.
I am actually curious to see what other people think about it, because to me it's become almost a default with the games. In fact, I assumed we were playing with them last game until I asked people, and then it started a whole discussion of, well, we can do it with these house rules and stuff. But to me, it's just kind of the preferred method of we're just not doing supports. But I am curious to see if anybody feels really, really strongly about why they're so integral to the TI experience.
Good. Well, with that, I think. What do you think? Should we start talking about the rumors of Codex 3?
Yeah, you can lead off because I didn't believe him for a second.
Yeah.
And I'm still skeptical that we're going to get a Codex, to be honest with you. I think we're going to get a graphic novel.
I mean, so it would be such a huge troll if Space Cast Peace Turtles did a whole episode about changes, and then Dane Beltrami did a whole, started putting out stuff about the extra hero and the Sarlacc commander and the blah blah blah. And I think it would be a huge troll to have a whole episode about that and nothing. And then their announcement, the big announcement for Twilight Imperium's 25th anniversary, 25 years. I really think that they're going to have a better announcement than just a graphic novel.
Maybe.
I really do. And the game right now, it feels like it's, to be honest with you, TI feels like it's been gaining popularity. I'm noticing a lot of TI videos coming out. So I feel like, the Codex is really a patch, right? It's what it is. It's the way, so think of it as in video game parlance, it's when they patch the game to buff or nerf certain, certain aspects of the game, heroes or whatever. And I really think that some of the proposed change, or not proposed, rumored, I was going to say, the rumored changes make sense. Let's start with the extra hero, the spin to win hero, right? I really think that hero absolutely needs a nerf. And you know why I feel that? Before we played our last game, Chris, the last game I just played, I felt that way. And then the last game absolutely proved it, because we had Josh, again, the bane of my existence in TI, continues to find ways to win the game that are annoying as hell.
Yeah.
One with the extra hero, and he did this thing where he basically pooled his strategy tokens so that he could quash, right? And you could do that, and you could basically run through the agenda deck to get your victory point. He also had an Imperial Rider, so it was like he was able to just pop an Imperial Rider, which is allowed, by the way, on an agenda, and then use your hero to cycle through the agendas to find one. And you can give yourself up to 2 victory points theoretically with the extra hero that way. That's crazy to me. That's OP.
Yeah.
That needs a nerf.
No, I don't disagree that the mechanics there probably weren't. They didn't consider all the, or maybe they did, and they said let's go do it and see what happens. No, I've always been skeptical of the extra hero because it is a casino that eventually you're gonna pull the winning handle and get the jackpot with them.
Yeah.
I
like that.
So if they get a nerf, then so be it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping it's something so that they just prevent the quash side of things, which is my expectation is you just can't use quash with. Yeah,
it's going to be probably a minor nerf where the hero still functions somewhat similarly, because I don't think there's anything wrong with the hero. I just think that there's a lot of loopholes that allow that hero to be OP.
Yeah.
So I really hope that is an extra nerf hero is coming. That being said, the next rumor we have here looks like the Sarlacc commander, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that the Sarlacc commander can absolutely use a buff.
Yeah. I mean, Sarlacc can use a buff overall.
In general, yeah.
I don't know. I do really like the Sarlacc. They're very difficult to play.
Really? You think so?
I think overall they don't have. I mean, having no tech is just devastating.
But so you remember you thought that up until until POK really fixed. Not, I don't say they made the Sarlacc very viable.
They have they're one of the races that I want to play a lot, just so I think you have to understand how their whole kit fits together, because in moving infantry to take planets, their hero is situational. In the sense that it's not
really cool.
It's cool, but
it's
not. Yeah, but it's not a casino where you just get a victory point or you smash 2 fleets together. You really gotta time it and figure out how you're going to use it in your game.
Yeah.
Again, I think the Sarlacc have a lot of cool things.
Yeah.
And just the brute force of them is good.
And the commander is supposed to essentially give that swarm mechanic, where if you have planets surrounding, you are able to essentially commit ground troops to the planet that the adjacent planets. You can commit ground troops from the adjacent planets that do not contain a command token, which it might be that you could do it. I don't know. I can't imagine what the buff will be, but I do think that the Sardak, as much as they've been sort of balanced up in POK, they can still use a buff. I don't think it'll be a nerf by any means.
Right.
And I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be cool if they buffed it. I don't know what I can't imagine what it would be. Maybe it would be that it doesn't have to not contain a command token. I don't know.
My guess is it's minor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I do think the Sardak are viable, but they're I think they're more one of those challenging factions that if you do want to challenge, they're fun to play. I'm never relaxed when I play them, though. I think that's kind of the difference. Is whenever I play them, I have to think a lot about.
This has been your main issue with the Sardak, is you always feel like you're like it's the lack of tech. I really think
it is. It's definitely a lack of tech because you feel like
you're just behind. You start off behind,
and you got to plan out your whole tech strategy. You got to pick tech. You got to fight to get tech.
Yep.
They are slow kind of to get rolling. And again, I kind of saw last time I played them what you can do with the infantry and the commander.
And you liked that.
And I liked it, and I thought, oh wow, this is really cool, but I haven't really cracked on the efficiency of it.
Yeah.
And there were one or two plays where I finally got it, and I was like, oh, okay, I can just move into the system without, a bunch of ships, and I can get control of it and everything. So I thought that was cool, but again, I think they take just a commitment to a Sardak mind frame.
Which I think speaks to why a buff would be cool. Because I think a buff would make it so that they would feel a little bit more viable, a little bit more interesting, not interesting, but more, for you, somewhat more powerful.
Yeah.
So
maybe they'll give their commander some tech.
I doubt
Free
it.
technology.
I doubt it. That's wishful thinking.
That would be great.
So the next rumor is about the Yin Hero. That the Yin Hero is the one that essentially I think of the Yin Hero as just the clone thing. So it just doubles up. It lets you essentially double up your infantry on the planet. It's already a planet that has an infantry on it. I think that this one, I can't see it being nerfed because the Yin aren't exactly super powerful.
They're so
I can see a buff there. I also can't imagine what that buff will be. But I think it's interesting, and
I think they're going to change War to and.
Oh, and
that would be my guess.
That would be huge. So you can ready the planets, and you get to double the.
Yes, that would be if I were to predict what the better buff for them without completely reworking the hero would be to change the and. So you ready your planets and then place infantry on them, which would be okay. I don't think anything in the Yin's kit works at all.
Really? You feel that way about the Yin, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the receiving end of indoctrination, and it's not pleasant.
Yeah, it's annoying.
It's really just annoying when you have a system there that only has one infantry and they just waltz over. And somebody was playing Yin last game, and they did it to Jonathan, and it was just annoying to say that you can't do anything about it, and you're like, okay. Take my planets. Go ahead. But at that same token, the Yin kind of just stall.
Yeah.
They got to get the infantry there, and that's always a consideration.
Yeah.
And you just spend a lot of time chasing your tail. I don't feel like any of I don't feel like the agent works. I don't feel like the commander's very good, and their hero's garbage. And overall, they put them back in the box. Don't play them.
Wow, harsh.
Yeah,
I hope there aren't people who love Yin and who are watching. Or
I do.
Just you
Suck it.
No. Deal with it.
Come at me, bro.
No. So the next rumor is about the mech for the Nalu. I believe that's supposed to probably get a buff because
good because it's useless.
Yeah, I mean, somebody who's at least one relic fragment, you get to apply +2. That's of all the mech powers in the game, that one seems like it's so situational that it hardly ever applies. So I think that's probably going to get a buff. I can't imagine what that's going to be.
I mean, it might, if I were to pick, knowing how TA works, they might still keep the relic fragment and just say it applies to all the units in the system, maybe. So if
wow.
you bring your mech along, all your units against somebody who has a relic fragment get +2. Or they could just ditch the relic fragment thing completely, and just give combat units +2 for having a mech in the system, which might be a little overpowered, but could be cool for a fighter swarm kind of strategy.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's tough. That's a tough one. I can't.
It is. They need to fix it though, because Nalu went obviously from number 1 to not number 1, like bottom tier between the games.
Yep.
And I like Nalu. They're definitely not one that I would be excited to play.
Yeah.
But I do still like the Crystal Fighter Swarm aspect of them. I think with POK, other races like Sardak can do it much better.
Yeah.
And you do have it's not as effective as it kind of wants as in the base game, but I still like the idea of the Nalu Fighter Swarm.
Yeah.
And theoretically getting Neuroglaive, although that's always
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So I think if it comes to fruition, I think a mech buff for the Nalu would be good.
Yeah.
Don't think it's going to change their game much.
Yeah.
But no.
No. And then the last rumor is in regards to, and this is perhaps the juiciest, and perhaps also the one that's likely not real, but we'll see, is a new faction.
No, not going to happen. Not going to happen. I'm not printing it out. That's for sure.
No, but that's the thing.
Okay,
we talked about this. We talked about how yes. Okay, I think printing out a faction, tableau sheet is probably very difficult. But this is why my theory about this possibly being the case is that Game Center just partnered with FFG to print and have fully production quality, basically FFG quality prints of the Codex 1 and 2 off the website for like $20 each. By the way, if you didn't know about that, you can do that. You can now print Codex 1 and 2 and just buy it. It'll just come. We had to literally create our own cards when we printed out Codex 1 and 2. But this makes it so much easier. If somebody told me, hey, just pay $20 and it'll get delivered and you'll get the components to this game upgraded, I would have said yeah. So the partnership with Game Center to do that now feels really timely. It does. Which is why I feel like that the rumor of Codex 3 is I think there's credence to it, and I also think that the potential of having a new faction, which would be really interesting, and also really I don't want to say add life to the game because the game has a lot of replayability and fun as it is. But I mean, come on, a new faction, people would be all about that.
They would. I just feel like the mechanics of having to print out a huge faction sheet along with all the cards that go along with it
is a lot
to ask for a new faction.
Yeah.
I would personally feel a little cheated.
It would also mess up my TI insert. All the inserts that are based on would all
and then they'd have to print out the little command tokens for it. No, they're never going to do it. They'd have to print out the little command tokens too.
Yeah.
How the hell would you do that?
I mean, again, games. I mean, it's not like they can't do it.
They can, but then it would move beyond print and play. Because I will tell you this right now,
that's right.
Finding that cardboard, and if anybody knows how to get the cardboard printable, please put a link in the comments.
Yeah.
Because I have lost a token or I actually went through the wash for Arkham Horror, and I could not find a way to
reprint it
on that same
cardboard
stock.
I see.
So that would be just mechanically challenging.
Interesting.
But you know what? They could sell it but I think I think new factions are probably reserved for an expansion.
I will say that of the rumors, that is probably the one that I least believe might happen.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting. We're not even going to talk about what that faction is. It's a council. It's called the Council of Kellerez, I think. But we're not going to discuss on this podcast. We're not going to discuss because it's all speculative. But we'll see. It's exciting. I am excited that there's new stuff coming out.
I do think talking through it, I think all the stuff we talked about would be beneficial for the game.
Yeah.
I do think these are areas that need attention
to
it. So we'll see if something comes out.
Yep.
Still think we're gonna get a graphic novel, but we'll see. We'll see. What
I would be disappointed. I would honestly. I mean, look, I'll take anything Ti. We're
Right,
Ti
right.
junkies here.
Yeah.
You know, like when they printed out that RPG, which I still haven't played, by the way, I was all about getting it. I have it, haven't played it. Actually, if you have played it and you think it's cool, again, leave comments, let us know.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear it. But I'm excited for a codex. I think it would be great to see that and get some balance changes and stuff like that. So yeah, this time next week we'll see what happens. I'm very curious. We actually have an upcoming game on Sunday.
A secret one.
A secret TI game. I love the secret TI games.
You're all invited to our secret TI game.
Yeah, feel free to join.
Yeah, so we have another one. You're gonna play Creus?
I want to.
Okay.
Creus is one of those factions that I've played against many times, and have actually been not. I wasn't drawn to playing them, but I've had some movement issues lately. Like I've had, like the last game, I just felt so restricted, and all of a sudden I'm just like, the Creus with all the wormholes and the +1 movement with wormholes, the fact that they can just get around the board seems like a lot of fun, and that's what I've heard. Like the Creus are fun to play. Chris, you don't much.
I'm not a big
You're not a
Creus
huge fan.
I feel like they don't have a really solid win condition.
Yeah.
I think everybody is like, oh, cool, I can move through wormholes and I can do all this great stuff with them, but I also can't get any points. So,
but you know what you can do?
Dimensional Splicer.
Dimensional
Splicer. I've been on the receiving end of that, and that thing is brutal. Yeah. That they got that going for them. I will await. Right. I really do want to await your feedback on them and see how you like them.
I also want to pop their hero, because come on, I've seen that create so much fun.
No, that is cool. That is very.
I've seen
cool.
people get really mad.
Oh, absolutely! With your home system or Mechatol and. That is cool. I don't think it'll win you the game though. I just think it annoys people.
It's not about winning. It's about having fun.
Oh no, I absolutely. If you have fun with them, you are the winner in life.
Yeah.
But I have seen people kind of stall out on Creus after 3 rounds because they can go into all the wormholes, but they can't get that.
We'll see.
They can't get all this.
I'm gonna hopefully try to prove you wrong because you saw what the Titans were like. I mean, the Titans are already kind of OP.
Yeah.
Speaking of actually going back before we talked about all these potential rumored buffs and nerfs and stuff like that. Are there any other factions that you feel need nerfs or buffs besides the ones that are rumored and besides the ones we talked about? And I know, Chris, you of course, you think the Titans need to be nerfed.
I don't. Again, yes, I do. Okay, they're the one. I think they're Saturn, and this might be a topic for the next podcast that we do. Is I think some of the. I think maybe it's a good idea for the next podcast because I could spend another hour talking about Titans.
Because Chris's contention about this is that the Saturn engine
that's what pushes it over the top.
And Hell Titans are you have two, like you've got really awesome cruisers and you've got PDSs that do literally everything.
Right. And I could live with one or the other, but cruisers with extended movement and sustain are just terrible to go up against.
I still think.
And then you have again the production on the PDSs, so you could make those Saturn engines anywhere you want. Just oh no.
Or pop out of Warsaw.
No. And I know, and again, I'm not a fan of banning anybody. They're the one that just annoys me.
Are there any other factions you think need to be buffed or nerfed?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
I mean, Yin probably.
Well,
we talked about Yin.
Yeah.
They're the only one I think is real garbage.
Yeah.
Other than that,
okay.
I mean, I definitely some tweaks to it, but it's TI. We've seen. We've seen Titans go down or SAR.
We've seen Arborek win.
We've seen Arborek win. We've seen SAR and Titans and Necro go down in flames because they pissed off the wrong person.
Right.
Jolnar lost the last game because Necro decided to get very hungry and just plowed right into Jolnar.
It happens.
So I it's a wonderful game.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful game.
Well, we'd love to see your comments also about possible nerfs and buffs. This is, it's really exciting to see the game be so dynamic and have those changes. We're looking forward also in the upcoming. There's some upcoming cons that we're going to try to set up some games at those. We'll talk about that maybe on our next podcast. Yeah, I mean, other than that, what about you, Chris? What do you want to play for this Sunday? Any faction that you're feeling?
I like draft. I like to the Forrest Gump method.
Okay.
You don't know what you're gonna get.
I still think you need to enjoy the barony at some point.
That would be good. That would be a good pick. But I'm just gonna see what fate brings me, and who knows? Maybe it'll be in, and I'll be eating my words. No.
We'll see.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you very much, and see you soon.
We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.